And we start here this morning. The Global Group on Earth Observation Summit taking place in Cape Town will focus on young people being at the forefront of the fight against climate change. The GEO Summit is also expected to share Earth observation data to tackle climate change and the loss of biodiversity. Our reporter Simphiwe Ncongwane joins us live from the summit. Our anchor reporter this morning. Simphiwe, good morning to you. A very interesting agenda here, right, where we're also seeing young people contributing to curbing climate change. Tell us about, what you've learned about really what's at the heart of the summit.
Indeed, Naledi, very good morning to you and a warm welcome to the Cape Town International Convention Centre where the GEO Summit is taking place. You rightly said that, young people have joined in the fight. They've taken it upon themselves to join the fight against climate change. And quite interestingly, I've been in conversation with a young leader who is the owner of the Kgothatso Innovations, which is a company that seeks to use satellite-based techniques to fight climate change and to find other regions that have, that have been affected by climate change. And she joins me now this morning to, have a conversation about the kind of work that the company does. A very good morning to you, Didiza. Thank you so much for joining us and a warm welcome to the agenda.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for welcoming me.
It's a very interesting symposium that we're having, climate change, because so much has been said about climate change and the effects thereof, but little has been done. So your company, amongst others, have taken it upon themselves to join the fight against climate change. Let's first start by talking about what your company does.
So Kgothatso Innovations is a company that specializes in remote sensing and GIS, Geographic Information Systems. And what we do with those two technologies is that we are able to monitor and observe the Earth and what is happening around us so that we can help our stakeholders, our clients, to help to make more informed decisions regarding the locations that they are based in.
And then in terms of climate change, I know that we spoke earlier on about the kind of work that your company does, and you've been involved in some of the geological projects the company that has embarked on. And one of them is, Gautrain. Since we know that Gautrain is on an expansion drive, expanding its rail network, that will take about 150 kilometers, and your company will be at the forefront in terms of laying the groundwork for that. Just take us through that.
So we work with engineers with regards to this particular project. We have worked with an engineering company that has been hired by the Gautrain to actually look at the feasibility of such a project. Now you'll remember that Gauteng has got sinkholes, it has got dolomite, there's illegal mining activities. So what we have done as Kgothatso Innovations, our role in the project was to actually take satellite data that allows us to have a view penetrating the surface and actually seeing how the ground conditions have changed. Because remember, there has to be a lot of studies in terms of determining the feasibility of this kind of project. And that's the role that satellite data can actually come in helping the decision makers, in helping the engineers to have the insights that will enable them to assess the risk within such environments. I mean, some of the other projects as well on the agricultural side that where we get involved is where we are able to analyze crop health before it becomes a problem. You don't have that eye if you are on the earth or on the surface. However, with using satellite data, using geographical data, we can make those kind of studies and thereby help preserving our water resources, help preserving our land, because there's also the land degradation factor that actually contributes to things such as erosion and all of that. So using this technology, using satellite data, we are able to help the decision makers and the stakeholders to have insight that will allow them to have a view and therefore plan and monitor and mitigate the risks.
So from the various studies that you've undertaken, what are you observing in terms of the extent of the environmental and the land degradation? Are we at a point where, a point of no return, as it were? Because, so much has been done, yet, so much has been said and little has been done. Are we at a point where we can no longer stop the damage?
There's still a lot to be done. It starts with our daily living. It starts with us preserving our water. It starts with us not littering and polluting. It starts with us changing our modes of transport, because that impacts, the gases. So it is not too late. But we need, as a scientist, we need to get to a point where the message is loud and clear to you and me, to my grandmother back in the rural Eastern Cape, so that she understands that when she is farming, how does she make sure that this same land that she's farming, the generations that are coming later on can be able to still farm it. So we need to educate, and we need to make the message much simpler, and therefore everyone is able to do the little that they can gradually, and we'll start to see the changes that will be there to preserve our planet.
Technological advancement, Nelisa, is the bedrock of your business. I mean, the fact that you guys use technology-based techniques to deal with some of the environmental issues. So let's talk about, in simpler terms, the kind of role that technology plays in terms of fighting environmental degradation.
So it goes back again to having the eye. And that's where the technology is. So we may have the satellite data, but if we don't know how to process it in order for it to give us the insight that we need, then we're not doing our work. So the technology comes in having scientists like ourselves, scientists that are in academia who are part of this event, that are doing research, that are finding better ways for us to actually use this technology for bettering the work that we are doing in terms of preserving and protecting our planet. So it does start there. We need to be able to do the research. We need to continuously apply what we have been applying in terms of protecting the environment, and therefore eventually we can actually start seeing the change.
Okay. And then at an individual level, what can we do to save the planet? Earlier on, I did talk about some of the small stuff that you and I can do to save our planet, to save the environment. And it may be small, but it has a compounding effect over time. So it does help in a great way. So what can you and I do to save our planet?
Educate others. Educate others that whatever we do has got an impact. It may not be exactly where you are. It could be in another part of the world where the impact is. I mean, we are seeing floods, and those are actually attributed to something that's happening in the Antarctica, and you feel that you may be far away from it. However, whatever you do where you are, it actually has an impact, globally. So start small. I'm a cyclist, and I use cycling for my mode of transport most of the time. We are able to do that, to commute in that way, so that we are saving, the environment, because our cars are contributing, to the exchanges, to the gases, and also in terms of like I mentioned, the saving the water, recycling water. We're able to use the same water again for our crops in our backyards. So it's those little steps that we can actually, and of course the energy that we are using as well. Nowadays we've got more sources in terms of renewable energy, especially the corporates and bigger companies are able to do that and use alternative energy methods that can actually have that meaningful contribution to our planet.
The quest for saving the environment and saving our planet can be tricky at times, because I spoke to quite a number of people who said that in as much as they are also playing a part in saving the environment, but there's economic factors that come into play. Some countries, many countries are becoming even more and more industrialized, using fossil fuels. And such industrialization is a source of livelihood for so many people, for so many countries. So it becomes a really tough balancing act, when it comes to saving the environment.
True. Look, there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance. We still have to address unemployment, because that again affects our communities, it affects our people. However, there has to be a balance. I mean, during industrialization, there are ways in which we can make sure that, for example, if we are producing waste, that waste is managed properly, so that it doesn't pollute the environment. Some of our clients, we are helping with that, to actually say, how do you make sure that you are sustainably, getting rid of waste. So there are ways that you have to balance it, that as much as you are still looking after making sure that people are employed, but you're also protecting the environment to make sure that it is still livable and it's still sustainable for the future generations.
Right. And you made a presentation to the symposium on Monday. Just share with us, the content of that presentation.
So yes, that was actually the project that we have done, whereby we are assisting the engineering firm who is our client, to assess the risk when it comes to the feasibility project of the Gautrain, that many of us may be aware of, that the Gautrain is planning to extend their routes. So what we have done within that study is to actually look at the ground conditions over a 5-year period in terms of how have they changed, because this then helps the engineers to actually assess the risk and to say, okay, here might be the hotspots or the areas that we need to be aware of in our planning and looking at the options. So that's one of the ways that this kind of information from the satellites can actually be useful in us maintaining and building infrastructure in the country.
And since you've been here since Monday, and I'm sure you've had so many visitors coming to your stall to inquire, what kind of questions are they asking?
A lot of interest has been around what we are doing in terms of research. Are we working with academia, which has been very exciting for us, because academia is quite key, because they do the research, they know what's up and coming. Yes. So it's up to us now to partner with them and take all of that insight and take it to the market, or take it to the person that needs it the most, who needs to solve challenges and problems regarding our environment. So that's one of the areas that have been of interest, and also women in this environment, in space. There's been quite a lot of interest with that. I've met some amazing women because it's still quite a male-dominated field. There isn't a lot of us, so it was exciting to see more women within this event that are actually saying, this is what the kind of work that I am doing within the space. Can we work together? So we've really, it has been really quite worthwhile for us as Khotaso Innovations to be part of this and to actually be part of the future, which is now. We have to act now. We cannot keep on saying the future is coming. The time is now. Time is now.
You raised a very important issue, that of women involvement in the fight against, climate change. There's been calls have been growing for women to get involved in the energy conversations. But then people, in particular women, keep on talking. But are you seeing a level of action being taken for women to forcefully take the seat at the table in terms of, getting themselves involved in these kind of conversations?
Look, it is not as quick or as effective as we would like to see, because the women are there, the specialists are there. You've got amazing scientists that are doing amazing work. You've got engineers that are women, that are within the solar projects, installing solar or advising in terms of renewable energy and all of that. But there's still quite a big gap. And I think it's up to all of us. It is not unique. We cannot talk transformation. We need to actually do it within our organizations, within our environments, especially the workplace. So yes, there's still quite a lot to be done within that sphere.
All right, Delisa, lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time, and keep on keeping on. We love your work, and you're doing a great job. Hey. Thank you so much. Well, that was the Managing Director of Khotaso Innovations, Delisa Didiza, just talking to us about some of the issues that came out of her presentation on Monday to the GEO Ministerial Summit that's currently taking place in Cape Town. It will be on until Friday, where there will be the Ministerial declaration and the wrap of the summit. But thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll now take it back to studio in Johannesburg.
Yeah, Simphiwe Ncongwane there from the Cape Town International Conference Centre. A very interesting discussion there that he's having with a woman, a South African woman. It's interesting when you see South Africans contributing to the global knowledge economy.